All right, welcome to another episode of the Fatboy FadeAway Sports Podcast. Here with you on Easter Sunday morning. I got Tyler McGurk with me. I'm Darren Breyer. T, how we doing today?
Doing good. Excited. Get to see the family.
Yeah,
Have a
good.
nice little dinner.
No Masters on CBS this Easter, but there's still a lot of good sporting events out there to watch as well. So, but yeah, it'll be a good Easter Sunday. We're going to be going over to my parents as well. Going over there. My mom's making a ham, I think, or she said. So be over there. I'm sure she'll have some dessert as well. So always looking forward to Easter time with the family.
She always does dessert the best.
She does do a good job with dessert. I know we have a pie coming there, so might not need to eat any breakfast this morning or lunch and just kind of wait
Save
until
up.
like dinner later. And so, man, a lot going on this week too, with sports-wise. We're gonna have a busy show here. We're gonna do hit on a little NBA, a little college basketball, do a little MLB segment, and then we'll finish it up with our NFL insider Brian Johnson over there. So we'll catch up with him a little bit and get his thoughts on the Niners trade, as you're wearing the T-shirt there. So it should be a good podcast. I know Brian's looking forward to it. So looking forward to that part of it. So I'll try to break it up for us on YouTube video as well if you want to skip to one of the particular sports there. So yeah. T, any thoughts before we get into this?
I can't wait to talk to Brian. I heard he didn't like my take, and can't wait to confront him.
What a surprise. He thought you were a little negative, so I'm interested to see what he has to say there. Well, the first thing I want to get into was the college basketball game last night. The Gonzaga versus UCLA one, West Coast game. What a game it was. 93-90 ended up being the final score in overtime. Suggs hits the game-winning bank three from a little within half court there. Just what a college game it was. It was cool to have like a West Coast game kind of live up to the hype a little bit. And I know it said that UCLA was an 11 seed, but man, they really played well. That might have been they played almost a perfect game. And in some ways, I mean, that's how good Gonzaga is, right? I mean, they basically had to just play at a level that was so superior to their talent. UCLA just pushed them to another level. So I was super impressed with UCLA. But I think Suggs stole the show with his two plays there in the final. I don't know what 2 minutes. He made that one defensive play and just unreal bounce pass there. It was like 2 minutes of regulation and finishes it up obviously with the bank shot to end the game there. So I'm just curious to get your thoughts on that game. I was watching with Hada too, so we were just like, oh, what a shot!
It was spectacular. Awesome. You had major onions.
Major onions in that one.
Major onions. The two things I took away, it's crazy to me that Gonzaga gets better athletes than UCLA to play basketball. First was like my first, like just looking at like, how the heck did Gonzaga turn into this power? Like where they're top 5 team like every year now. They are threatening to go undefeated most years. And it's just weird to me. And then that charge call. What did you think of that? Did you think it was a charge?
I thought it was a charge. I thought the guy was too out of control. He just kind of literally put his head right down. And if you're a Tim A and you put both hands up, I mean, he might have just like lost his whole entire rib cage. I felt like he had to put his left hand out, or he would have got like destroyed there.
Just to protect himself.
So you obviously thought maybe it was a block then?
No, I didn't. I wouldn't have liked
the block call there with a 1 point.
No, I wouldn't either. I would have disliked the no call, but it was basically what it was. I thought the reffing was very good. They stayed out of the way.
Yeah, they let him play actually, and that doesn't always happen in college basketball. There wasn't the charge. There's charge calls like sometimes there is in that one. Remember, you brought the Gonzaga UCLA thing. Remember on a podcast a while back, I brought that up. I think Gonzaga's kind of vying basically for that new UCLA West Coast role. And that's what I was thinking about watching that game last night. Will UCLA be able to steal like that thunder back a little bit from Gonzaga? And now Gonzaga, if they can pull this off on Monday night, they really now have a chance to kind of cement that flag in there, put that flag finally in the ground as a championship team, and then, you would think now that they've had this success, and like you're saying, they're even getting better athletes than like UCLA or any of the Pac-12 schools. You would think
Yeah.
this would just continue to take them to another level. And I heard their recruiting class next year is just as good, and they're able to keep guys. They're able to keep like these guys for like 3 or 4 years.
Most of them, but they still have those guys who leave early, like Zach Collins and
But that's what I mean.
Suggs
That's why
is going
they're
to leave early.
good.
Oh yeah, for sure. I
It's
agree.
like they
But
like they're
UCLA has like they're in LA, like so there's like a thing like that. I feel like attracts kids to go there more than like just basketball. There's more to it.
yeah.
Like Gonzaga is in Washington, like
Yeah.
it rains all year around, and like, but they still can get the kids, and it's an amazing job Mark Hughes does.
The other thing with the UCLA too is that it was Jusang and he was, man, he looked impressive. I was like, at first, remember I kind of said I wanted well, gosh, I can't pronounce his name, the white guy with the headband. He played well, but last night he had a few big baskets. Kipner or something like that. What's his name?
Oh yeah.
He's solid, but man, when I watched him, I was like, I'd much rather have the guy from UCLA. His game he's under control. That's what I like about his game. Like, he kind of reminds me of a better version of like Kyle Anderson, like much better version. Like, he's just like, I can see him much better.
He's a little quicker than that too.
But I mean, he kind of just has that like kind of body shape a little bit, but he's better like than him. He just kind of has that feel to be a little bit like him. And they both went to UCLA, so that's kind of why I thought of that as well. I forgot he went to UCLA. Kyle Anderson. I just looked at it.
Yeah.
So it was a great game. I was really impressed. So we've been kind of touching on the college basketball a little bit. So it was kind of nice and the West Coast teams. And so it was kind of good to get UCLA into the Final Four when the other two teams lost, which we weren't surprised, Oregon State or USC. But this game delivered. It was a good one. What do you think of the Gonzaga Baylor matchup?
I feel like people have been talking about them being the two best teams all year.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of cool that we get these games. Like, I was listening to a podcast with Barkley on it, and I think he made a bet that, and he got Gonzaga and Baylor, and the other guy got the field.
Okay.
And here we are, and we got the
Zags
Zags versus the Baylor Bears.
Here was the box score from last night's game. I just wanted to show you real quick. The other guy I wanted to point out real quick was I don't think he's an NBA player, but I did like it for a college game. Was Jaime. I liked him, number 4 on UCLA.
The guy with the fruity hair.
Aggressive, and he was solid. He had some big shots for them. And the point guard, Campbell.
Campbell played good all tournament.
He had that beautiful up and under move there towards the end of the game. That was a good game. But Gonzaga, like this is where you could tell they're not deep, and they rely very heavily on 5 guys. But that Tim guy, I know it's not pronounced like that, but I just love saying it. He was like abusing people in the post last night, like making it look easy. Like, just, they couldn't get that 5th foul on him. It was just, it was too hard for him. So
that can sometimes be distracting, I think, when a guy has 4 fouls and they try and get him a 5th foul. Like, I think it can throw like offenses off there.
And I liked how the refs did a good job not bailing him out, like you said, like not like giving like a cheeky on him to like kind of
just
turn the game.
And I don't even think he got a key. I can't think of a play where they like everyone was like, "Oh, you should have got a foul."
Well, you were saying that charge at the end, maybe, or something like that. Like,
that one.
That was probably the one. There was one a little earlier where he kind of did a little reach and stuff, but that was about it. So, anyways, I was super impressed with him.
But one more thing.
Yeah.
It just, and I think I've said this the last couple of times we talked about it. It's weird how bad the Pac-12 was, like in the regular season. Like they look, or I don't know if they were bad or they were playing each other a lot. So it didn't even look like good basketball though. You didn't even see like players stand out, like other than Mobley on USC. Everyone else looked like these like mediocre players, and then they get to the tournament and
then you get this guy from Thompson on Oregon State. He looked really good offensively, and then he kind of had a little bit of game like you saying on UCLA, like methodical, good mid-range game a little bit. And then you get UCLA's guys. Even Riley, the lefty, played pretty well there. Yeah, they had, and then Colorado has some pretty good players too. They got eliminated early, I know, but yeah, it was kind of a good showing for them for sure. So hopefully they can build off this, and maybe even Cal and Stanford could be back to relevance on our side of the bay here. And I mean, I enjoy college basketball when it's worth watching. That's kind of the way I look at it. You know what I mean? Like if the teams are like
When it's a
old,
big game and there's talent.
yeah, there's one and done. Exactly. I'm not going to just watch we're not going to watch Cal and Stanford right now when they're like 9 and 10 in the Pac-12. You know what I mean? Like there's nothing there to see right now. So, but when they have quality teams and recruit quality players, I'm all in on watching it. And I like the pageantry with that comes with the sport and stuff like that. So that'd be cool if I always felt like it'd be cool if San Francisco ever got better again too. So maybe Gonzaga's success could help lead to that a little bit. I don't know. That'd be cool if they could ever get good. They have a cool little stadium there. That's why I like it. One last note with NBA here before we get to MLB is actually I wanted to ask you one question here before I move on.
Because I wanted to ask you one question too after. So
you were tweeting about it last night about with this being the best game talk, like how people are so quick to react to oh, this is the best game I've ever seen. It's like, no, immediately the first game that came to my mind was that UNC Villanova game. And you tweeted that, and then there was a few other ones. I mean, you can look at I even like the one with Arizona and
don't bring it up.
When they won the championship.
That was a good one.
Yeah, like in '97, that's the one. People forget about that one. So, and then the one where Leitner hits the shot against Kentucky. To me, that's still the best game ever. Even when I went back and saw a real game of that. So I just think it's funny how we overreact to that stuff.
Even that Arizona-Illinois game that I didn't want you to bring up, was an amazing game.
Yeah, that was a good game too.
With Darren Williams and Luther Head and D Brown. But I was going to ask you, we haven't seen the guys who didn't go to college and they went straight to the G League or whatever they did. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
But would you take Suggs or Cunningham?
I mean, I guess when I've seen Cunningham play, I haven't seen wow, right? I guess Suggs, for the first time I saw that last night, I was like, wow. Maybe that's just because he was in a competitive game that I hadn't seen with. And I know Oklahoma State beat Baylor earlier in the year and he's had good games, but they're just I think I just like Suggs' defensive perimeter defense. He almost has a little John Stockton in him. I feel like where he's more athletic, but he really gets up in you every possession. He doesn't seem like he talks trash. He just he's last night, he's 6 for 12. Right. But he makes big defensive plays and he kind of just comes up with the game, obviously the game winner, but he didn't take 20 shots or he wasn't didn't have to handle the ball the whole time. I like that about him is he plays really well off the ball. I personally like his grittiness a little bit more than Cunningham, but I still feel like Cunningham has this smoothness to his game that kind of possibly brings him to a next level offensively that will get him drafted higher.
I've heard I'd rather have Suggs from what I've seen, but I've heard some people say that Cunningham in the NBA could be kind of like Luka, where it just opens up and he's bigger than the guys who are guarding him.
Yeah, he's got
and he's not the most overly athletic guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd take Suggs.
I just like his grittiness there, man. Something like his defensive perimeter, and he can guard bigger guys too. I like his game, and I think he'll get better offensively as he gets into the.
And he's not bad. He's a good shooter.
He made this play that was my favorite one. As soon as I saw that, I fell in love with it, that game. Because it's so smart. UCLA got the ball a little before half court, and basically it was if the guy made the pass ahead, he was gonna get a layup basically attempt, and he was far away from it, but he tried to throw it. He literally does a baseball dive. You don't see that. He literally goes out into a baseball dive to try to swat the ball away. He doesn't get it, but in my head, I was like, what a smart play, because literally, what does he have to lose other than his body? And it was just to me, it was a genius play. So I can see he really is smart about stuff like that, especially defensively. So I say we skip a little bit on the Warriors. We'll get into my thoughts next week on it because we want to get Brian on here at some point. But I do just want to, they don't deserve too much talk anyways after a 60-point or a 50 1 point, but they were down by as much as 60. I was talking to Adam, our friend. I'd like to have him on. We were chatting about it one of these times, and I think chalk talk with him would be good because when the Warriors are bad, that's when me and him are at our best with the Warriors and the ripping and getting you on there. I think would be a good little touch to add to it. So hopefully we can get Adam on there next week and maybe we can. I'm sure the Warriors aren't going to play much better this week, so we should still have plenty to talk about next week as long as Curry's still out.
And you have Draymond coming out saying he doesn't care about a play-in game or whatever the hell he said.
It's bad. I want to get into Wiseman and a few other things. So yeah, we'll skip that next week. That was good college basketball talk there. But we'll move on to MLB here. So we'll be back here. We'll touch on the first few days of Major League Baseball. What me and Tyler found caught our attention so far. All right, we're back with our MLB segment of the Fatboy FadeAway Sports Podcast here. Tyler, 3 games in. I'm excited about it. Baseball's back. Full season slate here. We got some fans in the crowd. Enough to kind of make it feel a little bit nice. Makes it feel a little normal. Makes me want to go to a game again just a little bit. Don't want to do the line thing or anything like that, but just kind of want to maybe go back there, take the boys back to a game. So I'm glad it's back. Glad fantasy baseball is back. We're going to talk what caught our attention here for the first few games here. And with that, I'm going to let you take the honor with that one. What's up that's caught your attention here to start the first few days off of the season?
They said the game was going to be a little different with this new ball. The game looks exactly. It's the same thing. Hit a home run or strike out or get walked or. There's nothing.
You couldn't actually
changed.
think it was going to change though that quickly, right? Because of the ball. Like there's no way.
I guess you're right, but it doesn't look like anyone's attempting anything different. No one's stealing bases, like we were hoping.
I think there's only certain teams that still are the ones that like it's like
will do that.
Yeah, there's like 3 teams I feel like that will steal, and then the rest of them are mediocre in it. So. But the home run ball's still there. That's for sure.
Well, that's definitely the main source of offensive production.
That's not going anywhere for sure.
It's the only way the Giants can score.
Is hitting a home run. All right, so that caught your attention is the baseball there. How about your Giants?
Oh, they're frustrating.
Blow the first game up 4-0. Get shut out last night.
I think the GM, what's it, whatever his name is. Yeah, he does a great job of getting these guys who are nobodies who are actually take good at bats and are good players. But he needs, like I said before, I wanted him to go get Lindor, and he hasn't proven he can bring in a guy or develop a guy yet. And they need somebody like that to make the team work. You can't win with 9 mediocre hitters who are 8. It's just frustrating. And then their pitching is Gosman looked good. And after,
is it boring to watch them?
No, because they have bats aren't. I mean, last night was boring. Last night was tough. But the first opening night was good. The second night was good. They won. So, I mean, they're actually not too bad to watch, but if I were not a Giants fan, they'd be boring as hell to watch because there's no one you care about. There's not one player on that team that Major League Baseball cares about. Maybe Posey.
Nobody's watching Solano out there. Nobody's watching coming for them.
It was nice to see Posey bounce back with 2 home runs in the first series.
That's true. He did. He did hit a couple bombs. I didn't know he hit the second one. I know he hit the first one on opening night there.
Yeah, he hit another one the second night.
Did he hit one the second night too?
Yeah, he didn't play last night.
So they played him back to back there. Well, that kind of goes to where and a thought with the A's too. They're not very dynamic either. They're tanking right now for Jack Leiter, so I like that. That's a good decision. Let's just go. Let's not win a game, and then we'll draft him in the first round. That's not a bad decision. We can do that. I'm okay with that if nobody knows he's a pitcher for Vanderbilt.
You guys are way too
good. And actually, if they did end up with the first pick, that would not be the worst alternative if you were to get him. I don't usually I'm not a big fan of taking, but this kid looks unreal in college baseball. If nobody's ever seen him pitch, he is pretty special, I would think. So we'll see.
It reminds me of when Mark Pryor first got called up.
I mean,
But
his
that
stuff is
Pryor
just
did it against
electric.
pros. Oh, it's
Yeah.
filthy.
So, I mean, maybe he doesn't have a long career, but man, you would think he's got 3 years of just.
Well, that's not what I was saying. I don't know about like his mechanics and stuff. Just like how nasty and easy they made it look.
Yeah. Well, God bless the Pirates. They'll probably end up with.
And Jack Leiter's teammates almost just as good.
Yeah, but he'll get drafted this year by whoever has the first pick. I forget who had the worst record last year. But anyways, the A's, they're just getting destroyed again by Astros. What a pathetic showing by them so far. Their lineup is just, it's pathetic. You know what I mean? Like, it's always my issue with the A's at times. Like, it's just not dynamic enough anymore. Like, it's like they're too reliant on just, at least the Giants have a little bit of dynamic with like Yastrzemski and Solana. Like, they have a little speed to their bat, but the problem is they don't even put the ball in play. I want guys that put the ball in play. That is what I want. I want guys that hit for average, bring a little speed to the game. To me, that's why like a guy like Trey Turner is so good. It's just like they bring a whole different level that's A, fun to watch, B, makes your team better than you can actually even like really see sometimes on paper because of just like the energy, I don't know, a certain at bat brings sometimes. And it's just, I miss like the Ray Durhams of the A's and those types of guys and the Johnny Damon years of it. They've had, and even the Terrence Longs, for goodness sakes, were a little more dynamic at the times at the top of the order. And Mark Canha at the top. I mean, how are they going to start rallies with him? And like, well, Laureano's dynamic, but he can't be a 2-hitter. He misses way too much. He has to be dynamic at like number 5 or 6. And so they don't keep guys on base consistent enough. And I'm worried if their pitching doesn't hit a level. I mean, they struggle in April a lot anyway, so I'm not too worried yet. But if their pitching doesn't pick it up, they might not be the worst team, but it might be a rough year for them.
I think the A's will be all right. You guys have Chapman. You have Olsen, who strikes out a ton. Don't get me wrong, and that's not what you were just referring to. But I would love to have Matt Olsen instead of Brandon Belt.
Well, yeah, because he's younger and obviously way better hitter than Belt's ever been. But
he's a good fielder too. He's just as good as Belt.
Belt does
They're
have
both good at fielding, but
Belt is probably better at getting on base though with those walks still. That's his thing, right? He won't swing, he'll even miss. He won't swing at the third strike. He'll miss it.
Yeah, he'll strike out and walk to the dugout like nothing happened.
Anything else catch your attention this week?
COVID.
Yeah, that played a little role in
frustrating.
The Mets. It was more the Nationals. Their team got it, and where it was a little when they canceled all 4 games. So did that. I saw the All-Star game got moved out of Atlanta because of the voting thing. Where like Georgia is one of the states that's trying to pass a law, like basically just making it harder to vote. It kind of seems with like less places to vote, no like weird stuff like people can't have food and water online, like odd stuff like that. So
just an easy way to kick someone out of a line and say you can't vote.
Yeah, so they're moving the game out of there. I thought that was interesting. And looking that up, I didn't realize that MLB had done that before. They did it, I guess. I forget the year. They did it with, I forget what state it was now, but it was a state that didn't recognize Martin Luther King holiday. And so they moved the All-Star game out of there. It's crazy to think a state actually didn't do that, but like it was like early on, obviously, and them recognizing it, but it still would have been like in the 80s. So
didn't the NBA do that with Charlotte just a couple of years ago?
That was with a law. That was with a law too that was passed. I forget what that law was, but yeah, they did that as well, Charlotte. So I thought that was kind of interesting there. Other thing for me was Andrew Vaughn debuted. It was cool to see him get his first at bat and see his family in the crowd there. I even saw Dion sitting next to Toby there in the crowd when they because they're like, oh, Andrew Vaughn from Santa Rosa gets his first at bat. His family, Toby and Diane, or his mom Diane there. And as they looked over, I could see Dion there in the Chicago White Sox gear, rooting them on. So that was cool to see that.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it was neat. I just got to quickly kind of text Toby and just kind of congratulate him. And it was neat to have him text me back and just stay, basically, you ever think you coach a big leaguer? It's like, no, not really. So, but your kid was pretty good, but it is kind of still surreal to see somebody that, lived in the same neighborhood we lived in and just, make it to that point. So far, he's not off to the best start. I know he's 0 for 7, struck out probably more than he usually does 3 times, which is not a lot, but he did drew a walk and got a run. So that was cool to see him get around and score. So, I'm sure he'll have his ups and downs now. He's in the best league of them all a little bit, but I still believe in him as a hitter. And I still think he'll be perfectly fine after these first two games. I think he'll figure it out.
Yeah, I have no worries about Andrew Vaughn and his
that was neat
abilities. What do you think of LaRussa not playing in that first game? It just didn't make sense to me.
I'm not actually surprised. I think I told you that seems like a LaRussa move, like a kind of a veteran coach, the lefty, well, not a lefty pitcher. Vaughn's a righty, just kind of, I don't know. I could see them maybe I'm not surprised.
I guess I'm not surprised. I just think it's stupid. Stupid. It's
hey, play the homegrown kid. That's what you got to do.
Play the kid you were threatening to send down to the minors if you didn't take an extension, and then you change your mind. But
that's true. Well, I love him, but if he keeps going over, he might get sent down by Tony pretty soon. So you better start hitting here, Tony.
That's true.
No,
Tony don't mess around.
Definitely be watching him. So that was good. Also, the last thing for me was that Reds Cardinals brawl. It was good to have a little brawl back. No suspensions now as a result of the brawl. That's good. Did you see it, Castellano? How do you say?
I love the way Castellanos handled the whole thing. He got beamed, and he kind of felt like it was on purpose. He picked up the ball and then when he scored, he just said something, got in the pitcher's face, and Yadier doesn't let that happen.
I think it's because a lot of people think it's because he kind of what do you say, pimped the home run that he hit before, basically. So.
Is that what it was?
Yeah,
see, I didn't see him hit that far back.
He had a home run the day before and kind of did a nice little stretch at first, and so I think he got paid because of that. And then it was funny to see that. So it's good to have good hardball back, and it always involves the Cardinals. They're all in the Reds.
It really does.
The Reds, the Cardinals, Reds, Pirates, those NL Central teams, man, they're the worst. They seem to be the pettiest of them all. The Cubs.
It seems like it's the Cardinals and Reds a lot.
They are. It just seems like they get involved a ton. They're just always involved in beanball wars. I don't know what it is. So
remember the Johnny Cueto against the
kicking incident? That was great. Yeah, they always have a good one.
Castellanos after the game was like, yeah, Yadier can get mad at me, but I still want to hug him every time after the game because I love that guy or something. Like, you might want to punch me, but I was like, oh God.
I don't want that. I want them to hate each other. I want their good rivalry TV on it. So it was good to have that back. It was interesting kind of seeing some of the starters early on. They're definitely not letting them go deep into games still. So we'll see how long that takes for the pitchers. Just the sport is moving farther and farther away from complete games. So if you have a record in the complete game category, you should feel very safe. You're probably not getting.
You have a pitching record that has anything to do with longevity.
You're in good shape. That's for sure.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll get more into the MLB here. You got anything else on MLB? No, we touched it all. All right, we got Brian coming up here for NFL. He's ready to jump on here. So
little Schefter.
We'll be back. Niners talk, Niners trade, little baby Schefter. We'll be back. All right, here we go. We're back. We got Johnson with us, NFL segment part here of the Fatboy FadeAway Sports Podcast. Brian, thanks for jumping on the podcast again with us. How you doing? Easter morning. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. I had a Mountain Dew like Skip Bayless to start the show. So
Diet Mountain Dew as well?
Yes.
Oh, impressive. You've been working out, like you've been telling me, 4 days a week. Yeah. How's that going?
It's going good.
Getting ready for the beaches in Miami, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'm excited for my trip next month.
Look out, ladies.
Brian, you're a crazy guy. You're the only guy I know that would go. Like, I envy it. I wish I could do something like that. It's pretty cool that you do that.
Yeah, I know a lot of people are they're impressed that I just go do things on my own.
Going to Miami, it's definitely on that list for sure.
Yeah.
From San Diego. So, you go, you're going in May, right?
Yeah,
For your
the
birthday.
May
Yeah.
May 18th is when I'm flying out.
All right. Look out, Miami. He's coming. Look out, ladies, as he's coming.
All
to
right,
Fort-
enough with the nice talk. I heard you
Uh,
rip my take. I don't get it.
on what? You got to tell people on what.
On the Niners trade.
All
I
right. Well, what's
said you're getting the third best quarterback in a draft. It's most quarterbacks don't produce three good quarterbacks. I mean, you might get a good one, but I want to hear your thoughts.
In my opinion, I think who we get at number 3 could be the best quarterback in the draft.
I mean, you could be right because it's the best place to go right away because you get Shanahan and a winning team. You're not forced into this.
I just don't necessarily think that Trevor Lawrence will be the best quarterback in the draft, in my opinion.
Well, let's set the table. The Niners get the third pick, right? So overall, they're getting the third pick. They get the Jaguars get the first. Lawrence is obviously the pick. Myers taking them there. Then the Jets, excuse me, they're going to be taking Wilson probably, right, at 2.
I'm not
Does-
exactly sold on that yet.
Well, Steve Young on KMBR last week was pretty sold, and he went to BYU, so I think he got inside information. He says the Jets are pretty sold on him, and he says the Niners would take Wilson, no doubt, if he was there, but the Jets will take him. So that's kind of what I'm hearing there with it, is that so you guys are probably going to have that like kind of thing with what Fields, what's the other guy, Lands, right, Tyler?
Trey Lance
and then your boy Mac Jones. Those are probably who it's going to come down to. And Tyler, you did not want Mac Jones at all.
I do not want return of the Mac.
I do
I do not want Mac Jones.
I don't know why you would trade up that far for Mac Jones.
That's what I'm thinking.
Well, because I guess he apparently can read the playbook like no other. He has like unreal memory, and like that's what I'm hearing. That's what the reason would be if they had to do it.
On Mac Jones's pro day, Kyle Shanahan was there and he overthrew a wide open receiver. So that doesn't make him look good so far.
And
but Ohio State had a pro day that same day with Justin Fields, and they chose to go to Alabama. That kind of scares me.
Yeah.
Or could that just be a bluff?
It could be.
Yeah, that
but
could be part of the
why?
deal, too.
Hoping no one trades up to number 2 with the Jets.
Yeah,
where the Niners are going here.
So that kind of brings to the question of you guys. You kind of disagree with Tyler then. So Tyler, you were, but this is where I think you guys agree. Is it sounds like unless Brian, you're saying you think Wilson though is not a guarantee to the Jets. See, that changes everything if that's not the case. Tyler's problem last week was he didn't like the Niners giving up all those picks for the third best quarterback option in the draft. That was his issue with it. I thought it was, that made sense. I kind of think like, though, some quarterback drafts are deeper where you have multiple good quarterbacks, and maybe that's what the Niners are thinking is there's they have to be thinking that obviously is there's 3 or 4 guys that they really like in this draft at quarterback. So I'm assuming that's where you disagree with Tyler in that one, is that the third quarterback is going to be just as good as maybe the first 2.
I just heard next year's draft is going to be like pathetic with quarterbacks. So if you're going to make a move, it's got to be in this draft.
I have heard that too, which makes sense for them to move up a little bit. But you said Lawrence isn't the best quarterback. If the Niners had the first overall pick, don't you think they take Trevor Lawrence?
No, I think they take Fields.
With the first overall pick?
I just think that he gives the Niners what they want. They had got a mobile quarterback and a guy who can throw the ball. I just don't think Lawrence would fit the 49ers.
I mean, Lawrence can move pretty good for what he looks like.
I guess that's
a sunshine-looking guy. He doesn't move like Justin Fields. No, not at all. I agree, but Fields is too inconsistent. Did you watch him against Northwestern?
Well, Tyler, who are you taking if Lawrence and Wilson are off the table? You're probably going Fields though too, right? Or you go Lance.
Anyone but Mac Jones.
No, you go Lance even over it.
Yeah, over Mac.
With like 1 week at start. I think Fields is probably the choice is who they want. I think that's why they didn't show up to his pro day. I think they just don't want to give an obvious like they're going to take him right away for some reason. But I think that's who they're gonna take.
I think they're worried someone might trade up because I think the Jets are open to trading the second pick, but if they stay, they'll take a quarterback. But I think if they get an offer that will blow them away, I think they would trade down and
take Fields.
Because they don't. So they don't want someone to trade up and take Fields. Wilson, I'm not sold on Wilson either. He reminds me of Jimmy Clausen kind of.
Why? Because he wears the headband.
Yeah, probably. He looks like his picture looks just like him. I'm not. I don't know. He seems and he's arrogant. He has that.
He'd be the biggest bust of all time if he was Jimmy Clausen.
Jimmy Clausen.
He might be the biggest bust of all time.
No, Ryan Leaf wins that one for sure. All right, well, let's get into the Niners side of this. That's why both of you guys can get this take on it. You can help me out as well. Let's think about the Niners for next season now, because in their press conference, Shanahan and Lynch are saying, "Oh, we love Jimmy. We talked to him. We're good. We're on the same page now. We still believe in him. The quarterback position is really important to us." And then some reporter goes, "Well, if you got a good offer for him, would you trade him?" Well, of course, if we had got a good offer for anybody, we'd look to trade him. So that's just talk for basically if he plays like garbage in camp and we get a first round pick offer for Garoppolo, he's gone in a heartbeat probably for whoever. So let's just say that doesn't happen. What's that dynamic, next year? Do you guys prefer it where Garoppolo just plays the season out and you just have this guy get 1 year of experience? We'll say like the Chiefs kind of did, and then just hope the quarterback's ready? Or do you prefer, all right, rookie quarterback looks like he's just as good as Garoppolo, but let's just throw him in there? Like, Brian, where you sit with that? We'll let Tyler react to you.
I think it could be like that year that the Seahawks took Russell Wilson. If he outperforms them in the preseason and in training camp, the rookie quarterback, they could go with a rookie, because I think they have enough talent around them to be successful. If they had a rookie quarterback, I think they could win.
So, but I think that before Tyler, you react to that, I don't think Matt Flynn is on the same level as Garoppolo. So Garoppolo's going to probably push the rookie a little bit more than Matthew Flynn ever pushed Wilson. And then the other thing was can you bench Garoppolo? Like, are you guaranteed? You know what I mean? Like, can you bench him and have him be on the bench there? Does that work?
I guess the issue with Garoppolo has been his health. So can he stay healthy the whole year?
So
I would say that's the biggest question.
Yeah, I just think it's an interesting dynamic. What do you think, T?
I'd be more, especially if we take Lance, because he has such limit. He's not even 21 yet. I would love Garoppolo to stay on the team. Let's not forget we were one overthrow of Emmanuel Sanders from winning the Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo. It's not like he's not great by any means, but he can manage a good roster. It's not like I don't mind him being on the team and being the quarterback for 1 year. But if he sucks, he's gone. Like, there's no, like, I don't want him to have like this big like mess up area or whatever. I want him to have a quick trigger to get rid of him or put him on the bench.
The one thing that's nice about having him is you got good quarterback depth though for injuries. You know what I mean? Like you have like a little room for error. And like that's important, like as you saw last year when you guys had to play those bums as backups. You know what I mean? Like
Nick Mullins.
Who'd you have to play? You had to play CJ and you played who's the other guy?
Nick Mullins.
Yeah, Brian's boy, Nick Mullins there. Yeah, that was not a good.
I think they were gonna let him walk at the end of the year when he played like that.
You used to love Nick. You're a big fan of Big Nick there for a little bit, Brian. What happened?
Well, when the lights got bright, he didn't perform well. So.
Yeah, no, that's an understatement.
I remember that Eagles Sunday night game. He has, Kyle Juszczyk wide open, and he decides to go the other way and almost throws an interception.
That was a rough game. That was a rough one versus the Eagles for sure. So yeah, the Garoppolo one's interesting for me on that side of it. So all right, so just to be clear here, you're in the draft comes around. Are you good with the trade? Overall,
yeah,
right now, are you good with the Niners trade? They haven't even taken the player yet, but you're like, I'm willing to give up those 3 first-round picks for this pick.
I just feel like you gotta like risk stuff sometimes to get a great player. You can't just sit around and hopefully a player drops to you.
Yeah. Yeah, and they obviously believe in somebody in this class to go up, to make that move finally. So, and you need a quarterback to extend that window. That's kind of what they need. So, and Tyler, you're last week you were more hesitant. You started to like it more.
No, I don't like it. I like it the same. You better pick the right guy. If you pick the wrong guy, then you're an idiot. But if you pick the right guy, all right, good job.
Well, let's be clear.
But I wouldn't have made
the wrong guy. We know who the wrong guy is.
Probably
It's Mac Jones.
Mac Jones. That's the wrong guy. You don't want him.
I do not want him, but
you don't want a guy that processes information.
It's like when the Niners took Alex Smith over Rodgers because they said that they didn't like Aaron Rodgers' hand size.
Alex Smith had the smallest hands like ever drafted as the #1 overall quarterback.
But you know what they say about
they didn't like Aaron Rodgers' motion, and they thought Alex Smith was a lot smarter. He probably is a lot smarter when it comes to
that
book.
was a bad pick. I'll go back and I'll just say, what were they thinking on that one?
Which one?
I'm just saying, looking
the Rodgers
back,
one.
They should have went to Rodgers just because he loved the 49ers. And
he was in our backyard.
Well, I think Brian already gave it up. The Niners didn't care about hand size enough. That matters. Rodgers had the bigger hand.
They cared too much about processing information on a book and putting designing plays on the chalkboard.
So does that basically mean processing information? That just mean a white stiff guy?
Nah, because Peyton Manning did it. He was
good.
I just remember that draft was pretty bad too. Braylon Edwards went number 2 to the Browns or something.
Oh, and that Smith draft, that wasn't the one Carlos Rogers was taking it then. That was a different one.
I don't think so. No.
No, okay, that was a different one. Yeah. So Brian, you're good with the trade then overall, and you want them to take Fields, obviously. I think Lambs would be an interesting pick if they took him, develop him for a year, true develop job, and then because I hear he's got pretty good potential and he kind of has a little bit of that. He's played in the North Dakota State there, so I thought he'd be kind of an interesting pick too. But I don't think you trade up for 3.
Didn't he have 41 touchdowns last year?
Yeah, I just don't see him trading up to 3 for that guy. But maybe we'll see. Some teams have done worse. I didn't think you would trade up for 2 for Mitchell Trubisky, but that happened.
I mean, they traded up for Mahomes at 11 or whatever, 10.
Yep, Matt's cousin. They traded up for him.
Buller.
Kyle Buller traded up for that. Shout out.
Because he could get on his knees and throw the ball through the.
He could get on what? How dare
field goal. He got on his knees and threw a field goal from 50 yards, the 50-yard line.
That's damn impressive. Still, I gotta say, that's pretty far.
He couldn't process information.
No, he couldn't process it. Quite the same there. Matt, if you're out there,
that was probably a bad pick from the Niners in that trade in the draft that Mahomes went when they took Solomon Thomas. I was like,
that was a terrible
pick.
Man, the Niners take so many defensive players, Brian. That's insane. They have an obsession with defensive players. Why wouldn't? Let me ask you guys.
They took Armstead, Buckner, Thomas, and Bosa in 4 straight drafts.
Unreal. And then before that, they've took obviously Aldon Smith. They took a lot of other guys too, even with the other regime, Patrick Willis, which obviously good players, but just that's kind of their thing. Let me ask you this before we get into a couple other topics here in the NFL, Brian. And will the Niners ever do a surprise pick? You know what I mean? And send everybody for a loop and take the receiver from Alabama or something like that. Do they need a receiver another position bad enough to use it on somebody else? Does that make no sense, or is that even a possibility?
I have heard a rumor about Kyle Pitts out of Florida, but I would be just totally shocked if they took somebody else.
That's the reason.
If we take a tight end at number 3 for 3 first-round picks and a third-round pick, they're idiots.
I'm saying that would be really stupid.
They are bunch of dummies. If they picked a player, I'd hope it'd be Jamar Chase from LSU. I think he's the best receiver, but they could have got like Waddle at 12, who's not that much first. And you don't have to give up 3 first-round picks. So,
No,
or 2.
not
I guess what they're saying about Kyle Pitts is he's like a receiver tight end, and
I've heard this all before about tight ends, though, and they never are that good when they get picked this high.
But look at the Patriots when they had Hernandez and Gronk.
They picked him in the 3rd and 2nd round. They didn't pick him top 3. Kelsey, he wasn't a top 5 pick. Gronk, like all the great tight ends are not top
I
10
agree
picks.
with this. I'm just saying it's a rumor. That's all I'm saying.
No.
that rumor could go straight to what.
Yeah,
that
Go back to high school. Kyle, I think Kyle Pitts
It's
is
going to
one
be
of the,
it's going to be a quarterback. It's
Yeah,
not
it
going
has
to
to
be
be.
anything else.
Yeah, when you trade that much, you're right. It's for a quarterback. So that's already, and they've already pretty much said that. But I just curious if they did go with another player who you thought they might go with.
I'd want the LSU receiver, but
Okay, so nobody wants the Heisman winner, the Alabama guy. That we wanted him.
I wouldn't be
opposed to
yes.
that.
Super skinny leg. I feel like he's gonna break in the NFL.
Super skinny legs. Look at the draft evaluation. That would be on your scouting sheet.
He's like
skinny legs.
he's like a horse.
Legs. He's like a horse. Brian, a couple things here at the NFL. You said you wanted to get on the what do you think of the NFL going to 17 games? Just as a money ploy. Some of the players ripped on it, but they still agreed to it. Kamara thought it was ridiculous, and a few other players I know weren't big fans of it. They should get a little bit more money out of it, though. The owners will get more. But what do you think of them going to 17 games? I know from a selfish level, we probably just still like watching it.
Yeah, I mean, I like the more games. I kind of wish they would get rid of the 4th preseason game, and
I thought they went down to 2.
I don't remember them saying that they whittled down the preseason games.
Last year was perfectly fine, and they had no preseason games. They don't need preseason games. I feel like maybe not. I don't know. That's just my opinion.
I'm good with having 2, just to get the one team each having maybe a chance to host a game to get ready for the season. But other than that, I don't think you need to go crazy with something like that. And maybe just for the players to have a shot at getting on the roster for the other ones, just to kind of see them in a game situation. But I mean, more than 2 is just, what are you doing? Like you said, it's pointless. You're basically just stealing people's money at that point.
You charge the same amount as
exactly. Go ahead, Brian.
Go ahead, Brian. Sorry, Brian.
I feel like if they had no preseason games, then the first game, it felt like the teams were rusty. I feel like if they had 2 preseason games at least, they would be more, on par than they were last year.
Do you think any of the starters would play if there was only 2 preseason games? I feel like they wouldn't even.
But what do you think about the 17 games? Does the 17 games matter? There's no more 7 and 9. It can only be 7 and 10 now. There's no 8 and 8 anymore. So, do you think it makes a difference in anything at all going forward? Nothing, or not at all?
I mean, if it comes down to the last game of playoff spot, but I mean, it just means more money for the NFL, and it gives you a chance to watch another regular season game. So,
yeah, I think it's just kind of pointless. I just feel like it's a useless little extra.
The real question is, what does it do to fantasy football? Do you push the playoffs back another week, or?
Yeah, I guess you do, huh?
No one plays week 17 playoffs.
Now, what do they do for the record books?
Yeah, that's the one thing. All the passing records are going to be
destroyed.
I mean, they already are, but
everything will have to be asterisks now, basically, right? For a season total.
Babe Ruth only played 140 games, or 100, not 162, but.
Brian, last thing here for you.
I'm sure they would switch the fantasy football league rules.
Yeah, they would do that for sure. Well, it's just how people would want to manage it. Hey, let's do the top 5 mock drafts here for the week. So we kind of went through the first 3 basically. It sounds like our first one. We got Lawrence at 1. It sounds like to Jacksonville, right? Yeah. Who the Jets take it to then? It's got to be Wilson, right?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Zach Wilson as well.
Does that mean they trade Darnold then? Or they go Garoppolo Wilson?
I think they'll keep Darnold for another year and just see how things go.
I see. I would be surprised if they kept Darnold and kept Wilson. Wilson seems like he's more ready to play right now. It just would be an interesting move by them to keep him. It seems like they wouldn't be. It seems like you could get more value for trading him, even if it was just like a second round pick. It seems like you get more than you would next year for him. I guess unless he plays really well.
Yeah, I mean, I
Um,
guess maybe the Panthers would they be willing to give up a second round pick for Darnold?
Let's
didn't they
not
just sign
forget.
Ted?
Let's not forget Sam Darnold does see ghost.
That is true. We don't want that. That is a quarterback. That is a quarterback. Third, Brian, Niners take who?
I'm gonna say Justin Fields.
All right, so they take Fields there. Atlanta's at 4. Who are they taking? They go quarterback as well?
I'm gonna go a blockbuster trade. I think New England trades up and they take Mac Jones.
The processor of information. I like it. See,
I think he'd be perfect on the Patriots.
Mac Jones there.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll say the New England goes up. They take their Atlanta falls back. I think Atlanta was in a good position to take Mac Jones to replace Matt Ryan. A perfect transition.
They literally are the same guy coming out of college. Is how I look at it.
I think they should take a guy like Lance, like they're like a higher risk guy, but they still could have Ryan there for like literally a year or two, and just let this guy at 20 years old develop for 2 years. I don't know. That's kind of what I would do, and just build your team for that next transition. If I was Atlanta a little bit, just Ryan's entrenched enough there. He is who he is. So just let it play
Yeah, I
out
mean,
there.
it wouldn't make any sense for them to get Mac Jones if he's the same player as Matt Ryan.
That makes perfect
Once again, they were up by 24 points in the Super Bowl with Matt
Wow. Yeah.
His family watches this show, Tyler. How could you do that? Brian, Cincinnati at 5. Who they taking?
I'm gonna say they take Sewell out of Oregon.
Ryan.
Why would
Lineman,
they take the receiver?
I
because they have
just
no
think
offensive lineman.
they need offensive line help for Burrow.
Yeah, and after he broke his leg last year, they probably don't want that to happen. But they don't. But I mean, they need receivers too. I think that would be a good
You're
guy
right.
to get. You're the LSU or the Alabama guy there, or Mr. Pitts, as maybe you want them to take.
You bring the
I think
LSU guys
they
back
could
to
take a
play with.
receiver in like the second round or something.
Yeah, you could do that. But I like your point, T.
Yeah, you bring the LSU guy back to Joey Burrows and reunite them.
Teammates.
And then the Dolphins take Deontay Smith to reunite with Tua.
I like that little twist there. That's a nice little I like that mock draft angle right there. And then the Lions take Pitts. That's what happens. And then Pitts disappears for 10 years in his career.
I think Pitts is
No,
going to
I
take it. I think the Falcons are going to take Pitts.
At number 4 there.
I actually think that Denver's going to trade up with the Lions and grab Lance. At
Another trade up. Did they trade up for Locke in the first round?
Yeah, I just think they need another quarterback. I don't think Locke's working out for the Broncos.
Yeah, he didn't look too impressive last year, but I think they got to give him another year. I think give him one more and then just build your other spots in your roster up a little bit. But you're saying there's no good quarterbacks next year, so.
But I mean, Lance, he's not going to be ready next year. You could sit him on the bench and you could give Locke another year and just, that's all I'm saying.
There. Yeah, no, I agree with that. That's what I would do too if I was Denver.
So Brian, getting back to the first overall pick, and if you were in charge of the Jaguars, you would take Justin Fields?
No, I'm not saying. You were saying if the Niners had the number 1 pick.
Okay, but Urban Meyer's offense is built around a running quarter. Like all of his success has been with a running quarterback.
Didn't he recruit Field?
No, he went to Georgia. He might have recruited him out of in the transfer portal. I don't know.
Yeah, I think Lawrence is too obvious at the first round pick. Like, there's just certain guys he might turn out to be a bum, but like he's already just kind of been anointed this first round pick for the last 2 years. You know what I mean? Like he just kind of feels like his play hasn't asked for him to be removed, I think, from that. So I'm not surprised he's staying in that spot. Brian, you got anything else NFL wise for us that we should be looking out for?
I mean, I guess, I mean, not really. I think we covered everything. The
Everything over there.
draft and then the 17 game season.
Yeah, I think as we move forward here towards the end of the April here, we'll have y'all. We'll do a little deeper mock draft here. Maybe we can get some more insights on some of the QBs and other positions out there available. Maybe we can get into what some of the team needs actually are for some of the other teams going into the draft. So yeah, thanks for joining us, Brian. Appreciate it, buddy. Thanks for your NFL information, your take on the Niners trade. Appreciate it.
Thank
All right,
you.
cool.
All
right.
All right, Brian. We'll see you. We'll see you later, buddy. Take it easy.
All right, later. Later, guys.
All right, so Tyler, me and you will be back next week with another episode. Fatboy FadeAway. We got more baseball to get into next week. We'll have a champion and national in the NCAA. The women's tournament championship game today. They had
Well,
a couple.
that was a great. That Arizona game was fun. They have this little point guard who I was like, man, she's quick as shit.
Yeah, she is. Hey, that's 2 Pac-12 schools too.
Ugh.
Quite the. Who would have thought Arizona? And man, I thought about it. Like there was like plus 900 was Arizona against UConn, and I was like, well, like 50 cents for like $4. I was like, oh, they're not gonna win. I was like, damn it, I should have done that. It's just too good of a reward. The odds of like that can happen, right? That can happen. So
Oh, for sure.
they beat Paige, Big Paige, the women's
Euchre or Becker or
she's good though. She's got a good feel for the game. But
I didn't know she was a freshman.
Hey, who's the best women's player you've ever seen?
I mean, I think it was Candace
Parker.
Yeah.
I think Taurasi, I think was a little bit better in my opinion. In my opinion, she's the best. Just because
I'm not going to argue that. She was good.
Something about her just seemed a little bit better. But you're
but
right,
like,
Parker did
I've heard people say it's Breonna Stewart or whatever, but I didn't watch enough women's basketball.
Yeah, she's even a younger generation there, or a little bit younger there.
And then Brittany Griner was probably, I don't know.
Well, yeah, because she was 7'10" as a woman. No. She was though. She was the first like dunking. She was like dunking in college games and stuff like that.
Yeah, dumping.
That Baylor coach she is intense. That one. Me and Hana watched.
Oh, that blonde-haired lady.
Man, she's like the Pat.
She's like she reminds me of your mom. Not the way your mom doesn't act that way, but like.
That's funny because that's what Xavier.
That's
funny because what Xavier said watching the game. He goes, "Hey, there's Nana." That wasn't there. So, all right, we're gonna do. We'll have all that stuff to talk about next week, and then hopefully get Adam on. We can talk a little bit Warriors. If not, I kind of want to get into the Warriors a little bit more as the season's starting to end and playoffs are starting to get closer. But there's a lot to rip on with them. So I'd like to.
I was dead wrong about the Warriors. I don't blame Curry at all. It doesn't hurt him at all.
All right, we'll get more into that as we get into next week. But all right, T, have a good week, man. Good podcast.
All right,
See you.
have a good
Easter with your family. Later.